Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Lewis. I hope you're all safe and well. Now on today's episode, I think I've got 3 gems for you. Certainly worthy of your consideration anyway. So I'm going to talk about each album in turn. I'm going to give you some of my brief thoughts as to why I happen to make these purchases. And I will go over what I believe are the best tracks on each album. So without further ado, the first album today was recorded in 1974 but was released in 2017, and it's by the Dave Gold Big Band, and the album's entitled Heaven on Their Minds. There you go. Yeah, I like the cover. I've got it's I love the font, I love the color scheme. It's proper old school. Not sure what the Swiss cheese plant has to do with. I've got no idea. It's an interesting look. I wouldn't have chosen it myself, but hey ho, it's not like terrible or anything. I just don't understand what's going on. So with this particular endeavor, it's a 4-track big band stroke soundtrack EP. So yeah, 4 tracks on here. That's all, and that's not necessarily a bad thing in this particular case. Now, in the overall sense of what I liked about this album, I really liked, and then there was other parts for me which were a bit So in total, I probably liked 50% of the album, which isn't a bad ratio, but truth be told, I only liked half of it. Now, why I say what I've said is that it basically invoked feelings of nostalgia in me, and the reason behind that is that this particular EP, as I stated earlier, was recorded in 74. So I grew up with this sound, which is pretty much contained on this album. It's definitely music that you would have found in like TV shows from the 1970s kind of thing. So that's what I'm saying. It's a nostalgia piece for me. Now, I would say overall with this album, it's a taut and unashamedly masculine piece. It's a masculine kind of thing going on. Now, I don't really, as a rule, I usually don't go for the big band sound. I've got very little of it in my collection. But for this particular EP, I had to make an exception. Like I said, when it gets going, it's really something special. Now, there are a couple of entertaining compositions on this album which are played with energy and with the horn section dial, turned right up to 11. So like I said, when it gets going, when it gets its legs, this EP is something to behold. It's just a bit of fun. So yeah, it certainly did resonate with me. The tracks that I would recommend from this EP would be Heaven on Their Minds and O'Connell Street. Now, both those tracks have they have a kind of, not film noir, but a kind of 70s thriller kind of feel to it. So that's why I'm saying it's more like soundtrack pieces rather than anything else. That's the nearest genre I'd say to it. So not that far from jazz, but I'd say it's more on the theme score side of things rather than on the jazz side. So have a listen to those tracks, see what you think. Feel free to comment down below and let me know your thoughts. If you still wanted this album, I think you can still pick it up relatively cheap. It's just a case of seeking it out more than anything. So I wish you the best of luck with that. But that's today's first EP in this case. The second item for you today definitely put a smile on my face when I listened to it. I must have had maybe a break of a couple of years at least from listening to this the last time, but this is a 1974 release. It's Brazilian folk music, but not like kind of like countryside folk, more metropolitan folk music. So yeah, when you hear it, you'll get what I mean. And it's by a duo called Bernier and Cartier, and it's a self-titled album. And here we go. I do like that album cover, and I'll get to that in a minute. So, Bernier and Cartier, also known as Octavio Bernier and Claudio Cartier. I just tripped all over myself there. That was just horrible, but I'm going to leave it in. And as I said, this is a delicious slice of Latin folk music. Now, I feel that this is one of the most appropriate album images that I've seen in a long time, in terms of the album content to what's on the cover is just ideally suited in this particular case. It's two chill dudes just shooting the breeze, sitting down in a chair in the midday sun kind of thing, and that's exactly how this album sounds. It's fantastic. It was definitely a treat to listen to this once more. It's a happy album. It's I felt, for me anyway, it was mood affecting. I was certainly felt more positive for the listening experience in this particular case. And when we do, not that I really want to harken back to it necessarily, but when we think of the hell which was 2020, this was really nice to have a listen to in early 2021, and yeah, it just made me feel positive again. It's that kind of thing. So give this album a listen, see what you think. For me anyway, there's a sense of unbridled fun on this album, for those who are listening to really experience, and you really do get a sense of it. There are super smooth male vocal harmonies, which you can't but help to nod to, and I found myself just swaying with it. I really like this album. I'm just going to put my hand up and go, yeah, this was for me. If I did have one criticism, and it's not really a criticism, it's really a backhanded compliment. The tracks that I really got enamored with on this particular album, I liked them so much, but they just ended too quickly. So quite a few of the tracks that I liked come under the 3:30 mark, which is standard for singles. They're a bit shorter in length. So I was frustrated ultimately by, if this tune was 8 minutes, I'd love it. So to only get like 2 minutes 30 or barely 3 minutes was a bit of a pain, but that's a good thing. I guess it's like any entertainer wants to leave their audience wanting more, and I certainly wanted more. So yes, the tracks that I'm gonna highlight for you, again, I'd be pronouncing it in Portuguese, so I'm probably going to really butcher it, so please don't be offended. The first track is Mirandolina. The second track is Ai Keta. Probably, yeah, it's probably horrible, but that's the best I can do. And the third track would be Sotem Lugar Pra Você. Sotem Lugar Pra Você. I think it's pronounced. Probably not. I was probably speaking closer to Bulgarian than Portuguese there, but do forgive me. But yeah, certainly an album that, yeah, have a listen to it. See if it can fit into your collection. I'm super glad to own this one. So yeah, it was really nice to revisit it as well. It definitely put a smile on my face. So that's today's second album. The third and final album for this episode. Again, I had a splendid time with it. It's a 1973 release, and it's by a gentleman called Larry Willis. And the album's entitled Inner Crisis. There you go. Um, I like the album cover. Any dude who can carry off a kind of leather shirt look, you must have been hot as hell in that. But good for you. You know, it's a look. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, the album title "Inner Crisis" suggests some kind of conflict within Willis. However, on listening to this album, I have absolute confidence that Willis knew exactly what he was doing and wanted to achieve. So, yeah, there's the plan and then there's execution. I think he got both elements done superbly on this particular album. Now, for me at least, this album, I would put it into the badass category. And it's a loose category, and I'll only mention it for certain albums, but this one's certainly done it for me. Thoroughly enjoyable experience. Yeah, do forgive me for using a North American expression, but that's how I just feel about it. Mr. Willis exudes too much cool for mere mortals, and yeah, as I said, I thoroughly enjoyed the journey. There is an obvious high level of talent on display. The compositions are tight and flow with a determination, power, and absolute certainty of mission. That's how I felt about it. This is really good material. I'm not gonna, yeah, I have it, so I'm slightly biased, but I think when you hear the standout tracks for yourselves, you may feel the same. There are good examples of Willis's dexterity as a pianist, and he delivers both compositions which require delicacy as well as those which are on the robust side with equal skill. Yeah, that was that's quite a good sentence from me, which is quite unusual. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that. I think this guy is a really, 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 really high performing talent, and if you've never heard of him, please check out his material. I think I've got at least one of his other albums. I think it might be a preceding one to this one. But yeah, both enjoyable journeys. The tracks that I would recommend from this album would be 153rd Street Theme, Inner Crisis, and For a Friend. Those would be the three that I would recommend to have a listen to. The notables on this album are Harold Vick on saxophone, and perhaps if you've seen one of my recent unboxing videos, yeah, Harold Vick was something that I enjoyed purchasing his self-titled album, and lots of you out there know some of his material as well. So lovely to connect the dots and find out he's on this one. I just took it, I didn't think about it at all otherwise. And yeah, Roland Prince on guitar, both of whom, well, him and Vic do a fantastic job on this album. Please give this a listen. You'll be doing yourself a favor. If you are looking for it, you might struggle, but it's all a question of how much pursuit you want into it. So if you do find it, it's going to be for reasonable money. It's just a question of whether or not you like it enough to put in the legwork for it. So that's today's third album. I'd like to thank you for joining me once again for another episode. It's been highly enjoyable. If you found it mildly informative and even by a lesser margin entertaining, please consider liking, subscribing and sharing. Yeah, it's an absolute blast doing these videos. So until the next episode, please look after yourselves, stay safe, and I will see you soon for another episode. So until then, take care. Bye bye.